and I'm gonna welcome everybody. So my name says here Viviani, but I'm just taking over Viviani's account for today. I'm Carolina, and I'm the product specialist of Examcraft Formative, and I'm going to be the host of tonight's webinar. And at the end, I'm also going to give a little demo and take the Q&A at the end. So just for the guests of tonight, feel free to use the chat throughout, and also feel free to pop in your questions on the Q&A box. And I'll have a look to them at the end of the session, and we can address them there. We don't expect to take more than 20 to 30 minutes tonight. As usual, we're going to keep short and sweet. So thank you so much for joining us tonight again. Also, if you have any further questions afterwards, everything is on our website. Feel free to go there, and also feel free to drop us a line and ask any questions. And I hope everybody is very excited for Maths Week and doing a lot of maths. So I'm gonna introduce you to our guest of today, which is John Sullivan. He's a math teacher, and he's not only a math teacher, but he's also a science and ICT teacher. And he's been teaching for over 20 years now, junior and leaving certificate maths. So he's our special guest of today, that would hit an author of our bank of questions. So with no further ado, I'm just gonna pause there our little video that I kept to entertain the attendees while we were getting started. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Sorry, apologize about that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. There you go. I have a few pops in here to handle, and I'm gonna hand you over then to our special guest, John O'Sullivan, the author of our bank of questions, and let him give you a little tour about of the content that he created for Examcraft Formative Math. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Carolina. Hi, everybody. As Carolina said, my name is John O'Sullivan. I'm a teacher in Bandon in West Cork, teacher of mathematics and science and chemistry, and teaching for over 20 years, those subjects. So I've always been one to use, ICT and all those extra bits and pieces. Well, they're kind of not extra anymore. They're kind of vital to our teaching, and especially since COVID and the lockdown, it became all the more important, using online learning platforms and so on. And when I saw the opportunity to get involved in Examcraft Formative, I jumped at it because I just see how valuable it is and how useful it is, and especially when kids are so good at using their phones and computers in these days, this is an excellent resource. It really is. And I think what was useful is that me and other members of the team involved with me are experienced maths teachers, so we know the value of this. We also know the course very well. We know we can anticipate, the mistakes students will make, and we know the areas that in particular need to be focused on. And I think that was very useful putting together this bank of questions. So I'm just going to go through the material that we've put together so far and what's very soon to be put up on the website, and just go through the layout of the maths on the Examcraft website and how to use it and the variety of questions we have. So first of all, to look at the structure. So at the moment, what we have up there is what me and the team have put together is the first year material. So this is what we would normally teach first years, and obviously they can vary a little bit from school to school, but this is what we have taught for a number of years, and we feel it works well. So these are the topics that are currently available on the website. You can see there's 7 topics there, and it's broken down into subsections in each of the sections. You can see that we have the learning outcomes covered in each section, and the way we've arranged it is each subtopic has 10 questions. You then have a topic quiz at the end of each topic, which is a mixture of all the different subsections. And then in each topic as well, we have extra questions. So those extra questions are available for just an extra quiz, or you can, you know, pick from those yourselves and make up new quizzes. You can do a new topic test. So we have enough questions in there, I think, that would cover quite a lot of material and gives you a lot of room for maneuver if you want to, you know, create your own little quiz and stuff like that. So we've I think, and that's, being a maths teacher, I know how busy teaching is. You know, I'm totally in touch with that whole aspect of it. So to have such a large amount of questions available, I know for me as a maths teacher, would be very, very useful. Just to give them a quick quiz or give some homework or whatever the case may be. And that was our aim when putting together these questions, that we would have lots of questions there, all of good quality and very useful for whatever topic you're covering in the classroom. At the moment, we're working on second year material, which we'll have done by the end of October, and then middle of December we'll have third year material. So by the end of the year, you'll have a full junior cert bank of questions, and these are the topics we're covering for second year. There's less number of topics, but there's a lot more in each topic. I'm working on statistics at the moment. There's quite a lot of subsections in there. So there'll be a similar amount of questions. And obviously, as you go up through the years, the second year material is going to be more challenging stuff in there, than the first year material. And we've built it up like that, you know, as it would be as you teach the course. You start with the more basics and you build up the level of difficulty as you go. And what we try to do as well with the questions, obviously there's some, you know, true false questions, and I'll go through all that in just a little while. There's some multiple choice. We've put enough of a challenge in there with the questions, you know, so there might be a multiple choice question, but they're still going to have to do a little bit of work, you know, with their pen and paper, with their calculators and stuff, to actually come up with the answers. Not like where you can read the question and say, oh yeah, this is definitely the answer. We've tried to put it the level that it's a good challenge for them when they go through the questions. And hopefully that will be the case when you get to use the platform. So the layout of the website is as such. So you go into your junior sub bank of questions. That's just a screenshot of the website there, and you can see all the different topics laid out. Maybe some of the second year stuff is in there already, and you have your different topics, and then you click into your topic and you come up with the subsections then. So you have your different, this is probability, first year probability. So you have all your different subsections. You have your topic quiz, and then you have an extra folder of extra questions in which you would have more questions for each of the subsections. So you'd have more independent events questions, more theoretical probability questions, and so on. Okay, so that's how the layout works. It's very easy to use, very straightforward. Now, there's lots of other things you can do with the website, and I know there's lots of tutorials on that. I think Carolina might go through that a little bit. So as a teacher, what you can do with it is excellent. Tracking their progress and all that. There's so much in there that's really, really, really useful. And I know for me, I use a lot of, like, I use an app on my iPad for, you know, tracking my students' test results and stuff like that. So this does a lot of that work for you, and it really is excellent. And I'm looking forward to using it myself in the classroom. So I just want to go through some examples with you of the type of questions that are in the different sections, the variety of questions, and then I'll show you how you can maybe change them and adapt them for yourself. So this is just one example. This is relative frequency. Okay, so just a different variety here. So you have this drag and drop question, you know, so you have, like, I'm going to take that away there. So you have the question, and they have a number of options of what to put as their answer, and you drop it in there. And actually, just yesterday, I did this on my phone, because you know, in the classroom, if you're doing it in class, it'll be, a lot of them will be using their phones, and it works perfectly on the phone. You know, they might have to turn it sideways, but it works away, and that's a real good benefit of it. Here is the one where you're matching, so they match up the answers by moving around questions. Here's another drag and drop one. You know, you have a question, you have a number of different options for them then, and I put in, you know, I put more answers in so that they have to, you know, it's just not a matter of, you know, which looks right here. There actually is more answers, more options given, sorry, than answers, so they have to actually really think about the answer. Here's then a free response where they just have to write in the answer and get it right. Those ones are sometimes the free responses are the trickiest, because when you preview the question yourself, you know, if there's one slight different thing from the answer is, you have to put in lots of different options. So like, you know, if there's a space in the answer, there has to be a space given in the options here. So if you're my point being is, if you're putting together your own questions, I would always advise you to preview it first, because you might miss an option for, you know, so you can add another option, maybe 100, you know, and 56, as because some of them might put it as a sentence, you know. So you have to think through what the student themselves might put in as their answer here, and that's just one example. So you have your mix and match here again. You have just multiple choice. Again, drag and drop. There's a lot of drag and drop in this one for some reason. There's true and false ones. Again, you have your multiple choice and multiple choice there again. Okay. So there's lots of different options and types of questions that can be asked, and we tried to put a big variety of questions in, so that they wouldn't just be doing all the same type of question for a test, okay, or for a little subsection. Lots of options, you know, to cater for the different type of learners as well, you know. So that's just an example of the types of questions. Now, what I've also put in them, and there will be more of these coming, for those of you who are maths teachers, you know full well that just multiple choice and the type of question we just looked at isn't the best option for some sections, and constructions being an obvious one, because for constructions, really them doing the construction, that's the ultimate goal of that section, and you want them to be able to actually do the construction and draw it out. So having a multiple choice or something like that doesn't work very well, even though I have, you know, we've questions put together for constructions that are self-graded, okay? So we're going to be putting together more of these self-graded options, like, so for example, in statistics, drawing graphs is a very important skill, and that's, you know, you can't really practice that with multiple choice. So we've put together a constructions one which is not self-graded, and we'll be doing more of those in relevant topics. So I just want to show you how this one works. So with these ones that aren't self-graded, there's a little bit more work for the teacher, but it's still quite useful, I feel. And it obviously it's most relevant for certain topics like constructions and stats and stuff. So what I've done here is I've put together a question telling the student to draw a construction, and then there is when they do the question, they must show their work. Okay, so when you look at the preview of this, you'll see there's a little button for them to submit work. So they would draw their construction on their page, take a picture of it with their phone, and submit that. And then what I've done is I've put together these rubrics. So it's just like a marking scheme for these questions, but obviously you, the teacher, have to go through that. And I've kind of based them on the exam papers. You have to do that little bit of work and actually assign the marks to the student. But I do think in the case of constructions and other topics like that, these are useful, but they will be very clearly marked as being not self-graded, so that you know if you're giving this to the student, okay, I actually have to correct this myself. Okay. Also, what's very useful here is the learning outcomes are all tagged for all the questions. Okay. And I know as a maths teacher, the learning outcomes maybe isn't something that I pay enough attention to all the time. So this kind of does that for you, and it tracks the learning outcomes as well, and how well they've done in them, and what you've covered and all that. So that is one very useful thing about it. Okay. The last thing then I'll talk about is editing and adapting questions, and this is very easy to do. Okay. So let me go back to the website here. So if you look at it like a simple question, I was looking yesterday at this one here. So if you wanted to make up your own question or just adapt a question, you know, even just to change it or make it more difficult or more easier. So simple is just, you know, change this to 4 over 10 or whatever. Change the marks to 2 points, you know, make it required, whatever the case may be. Okay, very easy to adapt and change these questions. It's very easy to make up your own question. Once you get into the hang of it, it's very simple. All you do is press the plus arrow here. You have all your different question types, okay? You can also search for existing items. I know at the webinar last week, Viviani went through how to do that. Maybe, I don't know if Caroline is going to do that today, but that is very simple. So it's, initially it takes a bit of time just to get used to it, but now that I've been doing it for a while, putting together questions is very straightforward and quite quick. So editing and adapting the questions is so easy. It's very user friendly, and I think it's an excellent platform. And hopefully the bank of questions we put together will be useful. I know there's a sample out there that you can use and take a look at it for yourself, and just get a little sample of it and see how it goes for you. But I would highly recommend it. I do think it really is excellent, and there's lots of options there. There's lots of variety, and that's it really. That's all I've got to say for today. I hope that's okay, Carolina.
Yes, John, that's perfect. Thank you so much for going through. I think that it was a very comprehensive overview of how did you process in order to kind of create those questions. And I'm not a maths teacher, but I did study maths, and it totally made sense to me. So I'm pretty sure that definitely made a lot of sense to the maths teachers in here too. And now I'm going to give a little tour. I like to call it more like a tour around the platform than a demo. And I think that some of the points you made about pulling items from the library, creating your own, and editing will come together very nicely. But thank you so much for even putting a presentation up. I think that was very comprehensive, and I think that the math teachers today, they can really see the amount of work behind it, and also how much that can save their time in order to prepare those questions, but still have very high standards and very high quality of content to deliver to the students. So once again, thank you so much for participating and talk us through your process and your questions. I'm looking forward for the second and third year. I'm sure the math teachers will be too, so they can try it out with second and third years as well. As soon as those are available, they will be a few of them topics will be made available on our 30-day free trial. So now, with no further ado, I'm going to start to share my screen and give a little tour to the of the platform. Can you see my screen well, John? Yes, perfect. Thank you. So this is my dashboard. So I have logged into ExamCraft Formative with my Teacher account that I use for demos. So whenever you log into your platform, this is how it's going to be. So it shows your dashboard. So you have, let's say, suggested formative. So here you can see the latest ones we've been working on. And here you have a bit of overview of your classes as well. So here on the left side of your screen is where your menu, where you navigate through the platform. And as John said, I would like to show you first our library. So it's where you're going to find the exclusive content of ExamCraft Formative, the math content that John has mentioned. So it's very important that when you go to library, you have in your filters here, you have your school selected. In here, we have the 30-day trial as a example, because this is what we're using now. So this is if you're on the 30-day trial, if you subscribe for that, that's the access you're going to have to the library. So you go into your school, in this case, you select that, and then the content will appear for you. Here you can see that is all in one folder, and we have all in here a bit of an overview, and all the content is here. You can click in the subfolders. For example, today's maths, so I'm going to open maths, and here you can see everything that is available. We have natural numbers, probability, and sets available for the 30-day trial. So you can click on the subfolder and then start to explore that in more detail. So for example, you want to try addition, subtraction of natural numbers. So you can go back in here, and by hitting the plus, you're adding that to your formatives that you're going to find in here. So as you can see here, addition and subtraction of natural numbers, I have just added that to my formative, let's say to my desk. I like to call this dashboard where you have all your formatives, like your desk, that you can organize your content into folders. As you can see here, I have the contents of like religious education and science that I have to be divided in folders. Here you can see as well, we have a few more topics of the math. And it's very simple as well to get them organized. So in here in the top right corner, you have the add button where you can click add, and then you can create a whole new formative, and you can do a few more other, use a few different features as well. But I just want to show you how to put things in folders. So I'm just going to add a folder and add math. So I'm going to just add this folder in there. The folder was created. So I'm just going to add this formative that I just imported from my library into that folder. So by selecting that formative, you can move. And then you select here your folder that you just created, maths, and you move. And then very easily that formative is going to fall into that folder. So that's very good when you're preparing your classes, for example, that you want to have a look at that before, or however each teacher is going to get organized, but it's very handy to have the things organized into folders. So into your formatives as well, you can see here in the top bar your classes. So for the ones that have these on is because these was assigned, for example, subsets. So you can see how this class, which is our math class here, with a few students as well, when you go into that formative, you can access that formative through this dashboard. You can either adjust the settings, so the way you assign that formative, or you can view responses. I'm going to show you the view responses first, because I think it's more interesting. And the assign has also multiple ways you can assign a formative to a student. But here you can see it's a bit late, so all your students are not online. They have been assigned a formative, so they can answer to that at home. For example, if you're doing that with your students in class, as long as they're like answering to that formative, you can see it going greens and reds, as Jonathan has mentioned on our previous webinar. So you can easily see how your class is progressing through a formative. Another function that I find very interesting in this is that you can hide students' name as well. So if you want to create as well, share this with your class and create a level of competition to them, you can. It's very easy to use these different functionalities to play around on creating different types of engagement for your class, depending on the case. This is how you're gonna see the responses. And in the assign aspect of it as well, you can adjust the settings of the assign. And here you can see that you can display items in a separate page. A few things that I find very interesting is that you can add a time limit, so you can put them 60 minutes only to answer. So even if you're assigning something for your students to do at home, or even like during a bigger break or from one week to another, you still can challenge them by adding a time limit or in around the multiple functions here in the assign. That's one of my favorite features of the platform. But if you are interested, we can definitely book in a demo with your school and go through in detail of each of those functions and how to work around. I just want to kind of just very quickly here open a different one, just from a different subject, to show how the responses look like when they're a little bit more populated. Just as a matter of curiosity. So here you can see a few of the students have already answered to that formative, so you can see how they progress on that. So that can be done for pretty much any subject. Also, once I have already showed the formatives, the dashboard, and the library, the most important is that you need classes to assign those, but it's very simple to set up a class. As you can see here, we have a few classes. This first year class is just, you can see here the blue symbol with the teachers because it's a co-hosted. We have a few teachers onboarded into this classroom. You have a few students. When the classroom is a Google Classroom, it's going to have this little G to it, which indicates that it's a Google Classroom for the schools that use Google Classroom. And they're going to have an indication as well if they're Microsoft Classroom. So, for example, in your math classroom, if you want to add students or anything you need to do, let me just create a class from scratch to show you as well how simple that is. So you can create a class in here. You can put a name, maths. Ooh, my keyboard is freezing. Maths second year. I'm going to put purple, and I'm going to put a green book, second year, algebra, and that's from my school. So I'm going to create that. So this is the manual onboarding process. So if your school doesn't use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can very easily onboard your students, but just creating this classroom, and you can circulate this link and this code via email or whatever way you use to communicate to your students and ask them to be onboarded to your classroom. Once they do that, they don't need to repeat that step. But if you are a Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams school, you can just go into Add and Roster Sync. And then you can select if you're going to roster sync with Google or Microsoft. And then by selecting that, it's going to prompt you to allow the connection through that account, of course. So it's just one click. And once you do that, for example, I choose my Google Classroom account. And then here you can see that I have all my classes already imported. For example, this classroom is a sample classroom. I'm going to click create that class, and then I can import as a new class, or I can link to an existing class. For example, this classroom, it's called a sample classroom in my Google account. And I just want to add that classroom into my math second year that I have just created in there. So I'm just going to select that and import. Of course, the class is simple, so it was empty, had no students, but it's the same process for the ones with the students on board. You want to select that classroom, all the students onboarded through your LMS will already be there. So it's very, very simple. It takes once, it's a once-off thing. Once you do that, all your classes are in there as well. And reports, which is a very cool function as well that you can use to see your students' progress over time. Here I have filtered just for the last 14 days, but you can add a lot of other filters depending on what you want to see. So if you just see something over time, you can see how your students did your geography second year class. You can see how they done, and these here are the topics they have answered. So according to the way you filter that, you're going to see in a different way. And teams is where you can see your teams, and then admin is where you can admin your school. These features will be more used to if you're an admin in your school or not. And as well, into my account is where you can find your, let's say, profile and so on. And you have also notifications, and that's where your students' messages will appear. Because once you're kind of doing a formative with your students, you have also the option to send them a message, and they have also the option to send teachers a message. That is very, very handy if you have those students that are a little bit more shy and they don't feel like raising the hands to ask the question. Or, for example, in a formative, you see all your students are not doing very well. So once you see that, you can go into your responses and on question number 1 and select the students and type in for them a message straight away. And again, when I'm going to go back to what John was saying into like formatives itself, into kind of editing aspect of it, that, for example, this addition and subtraction of natural numbers, you have 12 questions, but you just want 4. So you can select the questions you want because you will know the content. And then you can, let's say, delete the question number 1, remove. You're going to remove this one as well. And you can just go and remove a few that you don't want. I'm just going to remove 4 questions just to have 8 on this one. I have 9. I'm going to select one more to delete, and then I'm going to delete. So I have removed those formative items. Let's pretend that you want to do a revision of 2 different topics. Let's say you have already edited this one, and you just want to add more questions to this formative from the bank of questions or that you want to create. You just hit the plus button here at the end, or in any stage that you want to ask that question. And you can create your own by selecting the question type and so on, or you can go into library and search from existing items. When you go into your library, you can go to the overall library, and again, you need to select the filters and find your school in there or where you are at. And then type, grade, subjects, I'm going to put actually filters, I'm going to say natural numbers. No, we don't have natural numbers in this one. I don't know, a topic in maths. Jesus. Let's put there maths. Okay, my filters are not really working because I'm not very familiar with the math content.
But
you can tell.
probability.
Thank you, John. Perfect. Those ones that they might not be available for the 30-day trial, which is the library I'm trying to go to. But once you go through your library, let's go on the little by little and find all the content that is on the library. And then you can pull the questions from your library. So let's pretend that I found my topic in here to not be taking any more time. And then you want to add a few questions from a particular formative. You can just find the content in your library and click the add button here in the top left corner of your screen. So once you click add, all those 3 questions will be added to your formative. So you can then click the exit button. And as you can see, all the questions you have selected in there, they have come in of your formative in here. So now you have, again, more questions, and you have mixed content from the 2 topics. So basically, there's many different ways you can create your own formative and edit them to suit the needs of your classroom. It really depends on what you're looking for, but the possibilities here are boundless. So I think in terms of like giving a tour of the platform and a few things that you can do, I think I covered more than enough, to be honest. I think I probably talk way too much. As you can see, we're so excited about this and how many things this platform can do that we want to talk about it all. So I think I'm just gonna leave it that, and I'm gonna take any questions from the audience. John, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Is there anything that I possibly forgot to mention?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. It just shows the how adaptable it is, and you can just create your own little world in there too if you wish and want to put in the time to it. But there's a good library of topics there to set you on the road. So you covered it pretty well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea is like the bank of questions is there to facilitate the save time from the teachers, but it's nice to as well have the option to edit around or to move around as you think it might be needed to your students. Like it's very hard to have like this one size fits all, but there's always ways that you can tailor around and make it like amazing and create different levels according to your students' needs as well. So in here, in the questions from the audience that I'm going to start to answer, we didn't get any questions today. I think we spoke a lot. Hopefully, we answered all those questions before. I had one question here about the pricing. So the pricing, it's a subscription model, and it's paid per year and per student. So, for example, you can subscribe for 1 year, 1 class, so it's going to be according to those number of students. The price is €9.90 per student per subject for the year. And then for 3 subjects, the price is €19.90. So you have access to 3 subjects per student and per year as well. And $29.90 for all the subjects. We do have a special offer for the launch that we're happy to disclose. So if you're interested, do get in touch with us and we will be able to tell you what the offer is. As well, again, I'd like to reiterate all the teachers that we're offering a 30-day free trial. Not all the topics are there available, but you can have a taster of a few topics to see how the platform works, see how do you like, and see how your students like as well. So everybody's more than welcome to try the platform for 30 days. Also, if you think that that's something that can be interesting, we're happy to organize a demo either for yourself, if you want to kind of have a little bit more in-depth of the platform, or to your school department, to your maths department, or even to your whole school, if you think that's something it's going to be interesting. So do get in touch with us and book a demonstration so we can get into more detail. And also all the information about all the topics available are on our website as well, into the bank of questions. So you can find all the list that John has shared with us in the beginning for all subjects on the website. And I think that that's pretty much it for today. I think we're ready to wrap up this edition of our webinars in math. So I'd like to just thank once again everyone for the audience that came, for the questions, and a big, huge thanks to John, not only for being our author, but for kindly taking the time to come here and talk to us today.